Hello, I'm Alison Cornish, and I teach Italian at NYU in New York City. And I am president of the Dante Society, and this is part of the project Canto per Canto. And today I'm here with my friend Kristin.
Hello, I'm Kristin Nelson. I'm a former student of Alison, studied Dante with her while I was doing my MFA at the University of Michigan. And I'm a writer and an editor hanging out in California at the moment.
And today we want to talk about Purgatorio 12, which is the last of three cantos on the Terrace of Pride in Purgatory. And it has a lot to do with art. And so I wanted to ask Kristin what she was thinking about Purgatorio 12 these days.
As you know, I really, really love the Terrace of Pride just in general, right? Because it's always so much to do with representation and how art communicates. And the thing that I was thinking about this time, looking at Purgatorio 12, was like the nature of the acrostic, right? And the way that like what Dante's doing over and over on this terrace, it feels to me, is like representing not like, so he's always talking about like how like perfectly gloriously mimetic the sculpture is, right? You know, like how like beyond nature it is. But that what he himself represents is this like it's a mimetic representation of what it feels like to be moved by art, right? And so like the thing that I was thinking about, it made me think of Keats, right? Who I also really love, who like in Ode to a Nightingale, right? Like that's all about not what the Nightingale song sounds like, but what the Nightingale song does to him. And so like thinking about the acrostic this time around, I was thinking about the specific, like the language that builds the acrostic, right? The repeated words. So it's always forgive me, I'm going to get the Italian wrong, but I saw, right? And then, vedea, and mostrava, right? And I was thinking about the way that progression, aside from doing the thing where it's like, man, right? man. Also is like the experience of walking through an art gallery and being really moved, right? That like there's the movement from like, and like I think about the first time I saw Donatella's David, right? Which I'd seen pictures of before, but then you see it. And that, there's so like the first impulse is like, I saw Donatella's David. The second impulse is, it's just this like the experience, right? The sort of like the almost inexpressible, like,
like I'm really here, like I'm really present, which
exactly.
is what we've been thinking about a lot in this pandemic, that we're not really there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Exactly. Right. Yeah. And then it showed, right. And sort of, so the movement from like, here's what I did, to the central experience, to like attempting to communicate what it showed, right? Like the sort of you move from the inexpressible to trying to express the inexpressible. So I was thinking about that, and I had many, many more thoughts running on from that, but I'll give you a moment to.
Yeah, that's a lot. Well, we have to remind our audience that on the Terrace of Pride, we first in Canto 10 had those bas-reliefs on the wall, and now at the end of the visit to the Terrace of Pride, they're on the floor. And so these issues of what art does to us and how this art is really great art because it's so mimetic, as Kristin was saying, are talked about. This one in particular, the acrostic that Kristin referred to, is that as Dante narrates what happens in each of the episodes that are depicted in the art, if you read vertically, it spells V or UOM. What's that spell? It spells man. And that's part of that competition, right? That paragone between the visual arts and the literary arts, right? Which can you tell more with a picture, or can you really tell more with words? And a picture, you can start anywhere you want and go any direction, and the acrostic kind of replicates that you can read this way and you can read that way. And so that the details, the spelling out, it's the warp of his of a tapestry, right, is all the things that happened, and then there's the woof, if I've got that right. Maybe I've got it the wrong way. Anyway, the verticals of the kind of structure. So it's a way of reading, right? A way of reading are the stories that, and what's that spell? It spells man. So de te fabula narratur, right? This is about you, right? The story of Pride is about you, and then the location of the bas reliefs are down. So that's because it's a little bit reversed, right? Because the first ones that he sees are on the wall, and that's because people, as they get their pride is reduced, they get more straight, and they're able to see the examples of virtue on the wall. So now we're seeing all you can see when you're really weighed down by the stone of the punishment for pride is on your back. All you can see are the examples of pride, not the examples of humility on the wall. And so, why is pride connected to art, right? Is it the danger of art for art's sake, and that it's actually an exercise in pride? Look at me, like, look what I can do, an exercise in ambition. And, in ancient mythology, which we see also represented here, like Arachne, the one who competes with the gods in weaving, becomes a spider and so forth. So it's a competition with the gods. It's a refusal to recognize one's own limitations, or to acknowledge that, you didn't build that, or if you built it, it's because you're building on other things, right? It's never completely you, or even our own sense of inspiration or talent, right? Where does that come from? It's not like it's just hard work. We were talking earlier about how, you really do have to put your nose to the grindstone and elbow grease and get to writing when you want to write. But it's not only that, right? It's also something has to kind of occur to you from some, right? So all of that. And the first image of the canto is about work, right? It's about these two oxen side by side, and they work horses, and that kind of compassion of he's suffering and I'm going to suffer along with him. So that notion of compassion, and what you were saying about art, like, how does art get to us? Because we see ourselves in it, and so it touches us, or punge, right, is the word that Dante uses. It pricks us, and Virgil says, you gotta move, because everybody is kind of the bootstraps. It's like everybody has his own boat, and everybody has to row his own ship, and so forth, as if it were just a question of one's own effort. But what about the fact that this art is actually in tombs and tombstones and pavement tombs, right? A specific kind of tomb, monument. What do you think about that?
Yeah, so I was thinking about sort of in looking at the idea of, so like the tombs are representational too, right? Like, like the idea of what is it that Dante calls it? Like they're signed, right? Like they're sort of they're marked with the
yes. They're signed with what those people were before. So it's the image of the dead person. So it's like a pavement tomb, and you're walking over them. Yeah.
Yeah, so I suppose that makes me think about the idea of like an acknowledgement, sort of like, okay, self-identicality, if that makes sense. That so the tomb is kind of like fixing this image of what the person was, right? And like, in order to do so, that they're fixed at a particular point in time, they're fixed in this, right. And of course, like, these tombs are representing these moments of pride rather than like a dead person, right? But there's still sort of simultaneously this sense of like a chosen moment and a chosen sort of version of the person that gets preserved. And I think it made me think about the so like there's I don't know, the sort of like the freezing quality of pride at the same time as the sense of acceptance involved in pride, right? So like I know, so like this might seem like a leap, but like one of the things that I was thinking about is the way that the sort of the the repeated acrostic spelling out man, right, is simultaneously so like man, right? Like look upon yourself, and so silly, right? Like man, that's us, man. And I think that
and it makes it smaller. You mean yeah. So it has that double thing of monumentalizing, and then also, if you've seen pavement tunes in Europe, they're all worn away because people walk on them, and so it's a really way of, it's humility and pride kind of put together in that way. I was a colleague who gave a talk about Calvino, Marianna Mariani, quoted from a letter by Italo Calvino to his friend Sebastiano Timpano, who's a great Marxist philologist and committed materialist thinker, and it just really struck me, this passage, because he and Calvino and Timpano are imagining the end of the solar system, right? It's all going to come to an end. And when it does, Calvino says, well, we have to preserve all of human art, and we have to make some kind of, and this is 1970, so he hadn't yet pictured the cloud, but we'll have to make some kind of a library or a crypt inside of a pyramid or something, and we'll migrate it to some other solar system or galaxy so that what humans have done will be preserved, right? So even the most materialist person is like, well, we got to save this stuff, right? We can't just be people who come to be and pass away and there be nothing to remember us, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Well, and like I feel like that's another sort of interesting thing about the fact that these tombs, these stones are made not of stone but of language, right? That like the like they're never going to wear down, like so long as
except that it's the vernacular, right? So it's got to be translated for people who don't necessarily speak Dante's Italian, which of course is a language that has changed, if not gone away. Yeah.
That's true, right? And that it's mutable in a way that that stone is not too, though. Yeah.
So so morti li morti, vivi parem vivi. When he talks about the realistic mimetic capacity of the art, he's really talking about his own capacity, right? Dante's own capacity as a writer to make dead people look as if they're real and living and so forth. Let's see. I think we should also talk about the fact that Dante loses a P here. He has P's, right, on his face, and I always think that he himself has become a kind of a carving, right, with those 7 P's indicating peccato or sins. And this is when he gets one removed by this spectacular angel who's compared to, right, a kind of dawn scene of a trembling dawn star or something. And then there's even that kind of humor that at the right, we end the canto with a smile. It's sort of like, do I have spinach on my face? Like what? Yeah. And and that the fact that he feels it, then it actually is kind of a three-dimensional thing. And then we also get that reference to the stairway that suddenly it's easier to climb, and that's because this great weight of pride has been removed, at least vicariously, at least metaphorically for Dante. And he compares the staircase up to an actual staircase that takes you from the river, right, Arno, up to San Miniato, that spectacular view of the city up there. And he talks about it as having been made by a good government, right? When there was a good government and they provided for the people and they made this nice little stairway so you can get up more easily. Anyway, so I was thinking about all those things. Also how Dante has to show reverence to the angel. So he's supposed to put himself in a position, right? He's supposed to represent himself to show what it is he feels towards the angel. So what does this mean for us in our time? What else do you want to say about Purgatorio 12?
Gosh, I mean, I think like the thing that I always find so moving about this chunk of the comedy is the like the sense of like Dante grappling with who Dante is, right? And that there's sort of, right, like in the previous canto, in which he's talking to Oderisi, right, who's saying like, I wasn't so hot, but there's and the poets who are writing now, someone might have come along who will drive them.
That might be who too better than all the rest. Yes.
But yeah, like the sense that like of the kind of the tightrope that Dante walks between, like, so I don't know, and yeah, like I feel like this is also sort of the balance it feels like between like the silliness and the seriousness of this for me. That that like Dante, like in order to have humility, Dante needs to both understand that he's sort of just some guy, and he's not just some guy, right? That he's got Dante, and that yeah, that like the sort of I feel like the like I think about the way that we talk about like arrogance or ego or sort of like self-presentation as like, a problem of today, a problem of the youth, an Instagram problem, you know what I mean, right? But like, and the sort of the like, for Dante to do what Dante does, he has to be able to sort of hold this midpoint between knowing that he's Dante and he's going to do what Dante does, and that he's like that like presents all of the sort of the like, I don't know, what am I trying to say? But yeah, but like the sort of the balance of humility is something to do with being precisely what you are, with being sort of just like,
so your own life is a work of art, right?
Yes, yeah, that's what
life is a work of art. I mean, yeah, he's Dante, and he's becoming Dante by going on this journey, right? That's what the whole story is about. But your own life is a work of art, which takes a certain amount of humility, right? Right. So how do you strike that balance between acknowledging that what you are is not all self-made, and at the same time that it's your responsibility to make it as best you can, right, with the material that you've been given, right? Something
right.
Like
yeah, and yeah, like the material in particular, right? Like the idea of the sort of you have this lump of stone, and what do you do with the lump of stone? Yeah.
Yeah, and the fact that it is stone and it's not painted, right? There's something significant about that that it's not colored. It's just it's the three-dimensional. Right. So it could look all white, or all nondescript color, but then it has this nuance to it. So yeah.
Yeah, it acknowledges its own nature.
Very good. Well, with that, perhaps we've said what we think about Purgatorio 12, and thanks for listening, and really good to talk to you, Kristin.
You as well, Alison, as ever.
Ciao.